Josh Fiorini, and I'm the CEO and part owner of PTR Industries here in Bristol, Connecticut. We make rifles, both for civilian and military and law enforcement consumption. We've been in business for about 10 years, been located here in Bristol for about 2. We employ a little over 40 people on 3 shifts here, and we're a little nervous. We as a company, we build pretty much exclusively rifles, and we also build pretty much exclusively, what in the industry we would call modern sporting rifles, which is to say, they're for the products that we sell to the civilian commercial market. They're sporting rifles, target rifles, or hunting rifles, but they're based on a semi-automatic military type operating system. All of our rifles, for example, have a pistol grip. Aside from that, there are all the bad features. Some of them exist on some models, some of them don't. But the pistol grip is a very fundamental piece of the design of our rifle. If we were prohibited from making rifles with pistol grips in the state of Connecticut, we wouldn't have a choice but to move. And in reality, if that were done in a reckless way, more likely we would have to shut down immediately and lay off all of our workers and close down for 6 months before we move. If there were no notice or phasing date. So that's what we're really most worried about. And the thing from our perspective is, everyone at this company was devastated by what happened in Newtown. I have a daughter. Most of the people that work here are parents, and that was terrible. But in our position, the next thought that you have after how terrible it is what are the consequences going to be for us? And we feel like there's a lot of issues that can be focused on, like mental health, like school security, and like access to, an individual's right of access to guns, that can be addressed rather than hardware. School security, that's a common sense step. But arbitrarily banning hardware that is objectively and functionally no different from another piece of hardware right next to it that's not banned. From our perspective, that's just putting legitimate business people and legitimate jobs at risk for
most of it's cosmetic, the flash suppressors,
it's all cosmetic.
The flash
all of
hiders.
those features are cosmetic. I mean, the bottom line is a semi-automatic weapon is a semi-automatic weapon, which is different from an automatic weapon. A military rifle, military M16, is a select fire weapon. It's safe, single shot, or 3-round burst, or full auto, or some combination of those things. But the point is, it could fire multiple shots with one pull of the trigger. A semi-automatic weapon is one pull of the trigger, one shot, and some of them look scary. Some of them don't look scary. Not a lot of people really understand the way the defense industry works. Everybody kind of thinks that, the Army gets guns and the Army makes guns. Well, they don't. They don't make their guns, they don't make their trucks, they don't make their bombs, they don't make their planes. And when it comes to small arms, the companies that supply the law enforcement and military all over the world exist on civilian sales. And not a lot of people realize that. Thankfully, at the federal level, federal procurement level, they do realize that. So, we feel fairly confident that, we'll still be in business tomorrow. The question, though, is on everyone's mind around here is where. The rush to pass laws at the state level, especially in Connecticut, given the Newtown tragedy is local and so close to home here, is something that's kind of scary. You hear about things like the New York State Legislature making all of their cops felons overnight by passing a magazine ban without accepting law enforcement. And so if there are legislators out there who are willing to be that reckless, then, it leaves us as manufacturers in a position where, we're seriously worried about, the state of Connecticut rushing to pass laws without giving them due thought and due diligence. Well, Our guns right now, most of them that we ship to 47 of the 50 states, ship with 20-round magazines. As a result, we have tens of thousands of 20-round magazines that we paid for. And if all of a sudden overnight those are illegal without any exemptions, well, then that's millions of dollars of our property that have been confiscated or rendered useless, valueless. And that's a concern that we have here at PTR, and that, you know, a lot of people have across the state. You know, there's Connecticut used to be considered the arsenal of America, and that's sort of changed. But it's still the heart of the industry, and most of our customers wonder why the hell that is. You know, the more steps the legislature takes to make it unfriendly to firearms, the more the employees and the ownership starts to wonder why the hell that is. You know, several times a week, you know, we're getting calls from, you know, I mean, off the top of my head, South Carolina, Texas, Tennessee, Ohio, Oklahoma, you know, and others. And I'm sure it's even worse for the big guys. And you know, with lots of offers, I mean, you know, obviously they're pointing out the lack of hostility towards the gun industry, you know, in their state, but you know, but they're offering at this point, you know, some pretty enticing things like interest-free financing on real estate purchases, you know, grant money to pay for moving, which for a manufacturing company is a massive expense.
Yeah, I bet.
You know, employee relocation assistance, you know, all sorts of things. And you know, speaking for myself and most of my employees here, you know, we're from Connecticut. I was born and raised here. Most of the people that work here were born and raised here. We don't want to move. This is home. But you know, the more things the legislature does that are unfriendly to firearms, you know, they're kind of like straws on the camel's back. And the more straws that accumulate, you know, it gets harder to justify, especially when you have other places with open arms. If we could all lose our jobs and prevent, you know, any gun crime from occurring in the future ever, we'd gladly, you know, I'll go home right now. But that's not going to happen.